What's up guys, I'm Devin Wallien, and in today's video we're going to be talking about succulents that have overgrown. Whether you're growing your succulents in containers inside, outside, or if you live somewhere warm enough to have succulents right in the ground, what happens is that they will grow and grow and grow and oftentimes get overgrown. And the question is, what do you do with a succulent like this so that you can start it over in a manageable way that is, compact and fits your garden scheme? If you love the look of something like this, by all means, let it be. Eventually it'll break of its own accord, so maybe continue watching this video to know what to do if it does break from its own weight. So I have this beautiful Echeveria here and another one over here, and I'm going to show you guys what to do to make these more manageable. All right, so what we're going to do is called the decapitation method. This is the method to revigorate, regenerate our succulents. So what we want to do is we want to cut off a section that's about, I would say, 4 to 5 inches. And we're just going to take our nice clean sharp shears and we're just going to cut this top right off just like this. Now I'll show you with this plant and then with the other one so you have a double reference. Now we really just want the succulent foliage at the uppermost like 2 inches or so. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our shears and we're going to remove the bottom couple inches. Now as you can see, while we're doing this, I'm not going to damage this stem. I'm going to leave just this little bit of nub, and that is preferable to actually damaging the stem. And something that looks like this should be pretty perfect. Now, unfortunately, most succulents will not regenerate from this. So there might be a few that can create a new top growth, but typically what we're gonna do is we're gonna send this to our compost piles. Now, there is definitely the capacity to propagate, create new baby succulents from these single pieces of foliage, but I'm not gonna show that in this video. We'll save that for another video. And then with this big guy that needs the window to be upright, it's gonna be the same thing. And I will cut just right here, maybe a little bit longer stem. Oops, I knew that was gonna happen. And we will go ahead and do the same thing, cut these lowermost pieces of foliage off. Something that looks like that should be perfect. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to let these dry for about a week. And over the course of that week, these little nubs will dry and they will just naturally kind of flake off, which is what we want. Now, I'm here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm in the middle of summertime, so I'm going to let these dry outdoors. This is definitely best done during warm weather months. But if you are inside in the wintertime, just keep it in a dry, bright area wherever. Outdoors, where it's not going to get any rainfall and where it's not going to get any direct sun is preferred, okay? So I'm just going to put mine up here. And then we'll revisit them in a week. All right, so it has been about 10 days since we chop the heads off of our succulents, and you can see that they are definitely callousing over like I had mentioned. And so now we are ready for the next step, which is to pot them up. So I have, you can use some succulent potting mix, or what I do is I will just buy a bagged mix of like houseplant potting mix, and then I just added in some gravel for a little bit of extra drainage capacity. You can see super easy, low key. And I have a couple of containers, both of which have drainage holes. And before I plant them up, what I like to do is I will take some water and I will just pre-moisten the potting mix just a little bit. And this is going to be really good to help keep those succulents upright in that pot once we get them potted up. Now you can see there's definitely moisture here, but if I squeeze it, not even any water comes out. It's just slightly moistened. All right, so now that our soil is ready, let's go ahead and fill up our containers. Now I'm using a really heavy container for that one that got super tall. So that's this guy. This is like a cement container. Hopefully I have enough. Let's see. And the good thing about pre-moistening also is that typically, you know, when you water fresh soil after you've put it into your container, it's kind of like bubbles up and makes a mess, and then it ends up settling lower than you were expecting. Well, now this should be the ultimate, you know, it should be sitting at the correct height. So now that I have the soil in, I'm gonna just take something, make a nice little hole in the middle, just like that. Take the succulent and boom, put it in, nestle it down. That's one. And you can really put it down all the way so that like the bottom leaf is really just above that surface of the soil. Now I know they might look a little bit low in the containers right now, and they do, but that's okay because as we saw before, what happens is that stem grows and then they will start to pop up out. So I'm really planning for the future by planting them a little bit lower in these containers, but it's really up to you however you want to do it. Now, because I've already pre-moistened them, I'm not going to water them again right now. I will give it about another week before I give it a nice flush of water. I'm still, where am I, in the middle of August here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So I have another good 6 weeks before I really need to consider, you know, the nights getting too cold for these. So I'm gonna keep them out here in this shaded location, and after a week, then I will feel comfortable about putting them into a sunnier spot and giving them some more water. So at that time, we will revisit and we'll show you guys what to do. So what I've opted to do instead of putting them out in that direct sunlight in my back patio is to keep them here under the coverage of this front porch that has a roof, because you really, when they are starting to get rooted and they're not filling out the containers with their roots yet, you don't want them to be getting the rainfall. That will keep the soil way too moist, way too wet for too long, and that'll definitely cause them to rot. So I have been kind of, you know, on like weeks or like a few sections of days when I know it's not going to be raining, I will put them out there and then I'll bring them out here, put them back under the coverage on days that I might be expecting some precipitation. It's been 2 months since we chopped the heads off of these succulents. Nights are starting to get cooler, dipping into the 40s, so it's about time for me to bring them back inside. And so I think this is a good conclusion for the video. You can see they are starting to pop their heads back up out of the tops of these pots, which is exactly what I was expecting. And hopefully now you can go and propagate and restart your succulents with ease, knowing exactly what to do on each stage of the process. But if you do have any further questions or comments, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. I always do my best to answer all of your questions. Anyways, thanks for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I'll catch you guys later. Ciao.